So, how much do you know about your family history?
I've always been fascinated with the noble people in my family, pioneering suffragette and one of the first female writers. And so, growing up, I would always listen to his stories. How much do I know about my family history? I guess you could say I know uh, quite quite a bit about my family history, more than the average person, I would assume. Um, I've always been fascinated with history, especially family history, not just mine, but even my friends' family histories, and I'm quite retentive. So, what's great is this is my interest. This is the information that we have, and there is that meeting of interest and information. And at least I've been blessed with enough information to work with. So I guess it started with me as a child, listening to both grandfathers, my maternal and my paternal grandfather, and they would have all these stories about um, the adventures and misadventures of people come before us, either their own adventures or their fathers or their mothers or grandfathers, how a name is built because of their hard work. And what always fascinated me, these are people who are no longer with us, yet their legacies live on. And I guess that's how I started being so being so interested in family history. That my family history was as interesting as the stories that I would hear as a child, like children's stories, fairy tales. Of course, there were no dragons, there were no warlocks and witches, at least that I know of, but they held their own. So and at least I'm very retentive. So I would remember the characters, I would remember the names and what they did. And somehow I was unable to put them uh, in a family tree and how everyone relates with each other. So if you ask me to write my family tree, at least my direct line, I can go as far as 7 generation ago. Being gifted with that information and fascination, the natural progression would be for me to pursue a genealogical study. And I'm happy that Todd, my favorite genealogist, helped me piece certain missing uh, parts in the puzzle that is our family history, at least as far as the Lopez's are. It is imperative that we know, and that is the reason why, as I said, I didn't just rest with whatever information, whatever pictures, data that I have, or the memories, oral tradition that's been passed down, because we're a talkative bunch. I'm so happy that my grandparents were talkative enough to share all these stories and all this information, because they became eventually leads. Um, and I'm so happy that we're hoarders. So we get to keep a lot of pictures, a lot of documents. And there's a house in Tacloban, an ancestral house, that has withstood the test of time, and it has become a repository, not just of memories, but again of pictures and documents. And with that, I'm able to process certain character traits that may have come, may have been genetic, uh, like genetic memory. So certain predispositions, predilections, I would later on realize, or even early on in life, realize that maybe it came from blood like this or blood like that. Certain illnesses also. So certain genetic predispositions to illnesses. So it's good to know these things, to do the good and the bad, what to do and what not to do, what to avoid, what to pursue. Um, Also, that the knowledge that there are great people in your family tree, uh, pioneers, champions, leaders, people who have helped write history, movers and shakers, tycoons. All these people uh, have set a very high standard. They're human, they made mistakes, but they've set quite a high standard to live up to, and that is a good thing. For me, more than being pressured by that standard, it is something to aspire to. Hopefully, if you're lucky, you surpass the expectation. If you don't surpass the expectation, at least you honor them. You honor all these good people, great people who come before you just by trying to live up to the shining example.
So how much do you know about your family history?
Well, like I said, their shining example inspires me. There's always that character in my family history, in my family story, both sides, mother and father side, where I can draw inspiration for a particular time of life, or for a particular phase of life, or a unique problem or issue. And because I listened as a child to stories, oral tradition, and some of them happen to be history books, I channel the best parts of them. Of course, they also have their weaknesses, but I channel. But when I look at the noble people in my family, pioneering aviator, pioneering beauty queen, pioneering suffragette, and one of the first female writers in school, Spanish flyer, coming from a very good old Spanish family. There are certain facets to his personality that may have inspired the main antagonist in Jose Rizal's magnum opus. It's funny, it's inspiring, it just makes for a more interesting life in general. So it's never a mundane feeling. So even if it's boring at present, if there are moments where you feel okay, you're in a rut or down in the dumps, and then you say, you know what, come on, you're better than that. You're Lopez. So people who have come before you bear your name, have done a lot of great things or nasty things. So you have to be able to live up to that and channel that and make sure that you don't shame the name. So overall, it has helped me try to do my best, live up to the name, contribute hopefully to the legacy. And I never tire in doing that, and sharing their stories and making sure they live on, and making sure the next generation hears what these incredible characters from the past.
How has your family history helped you through the years?
A few days ago was my grandfather's 88th birthday. He passed away in 2007, and he was so mean to me. He was my maternal grandfather. His name was Dr. Herodotus Panganas. He was so mean to me, and I lived here in his estate. When we moved here from Manila when I was 7, and he would always show that my other cousins were his favorites. Buy them all this expensive stuff and make it a mukha to be that I was, of course, the least favorite. Of course, there was probably the initial feeling at the time I was a child. It was resentment and some form of trauma because Herodotus, named after the father of history, the Greek, that character from ancient Greece. But he inspires me because despite that, I was able to use a trauma as fuel to move me forward. Instead of being resentful and angry all the time, I found inspiration there that, to my mind, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm not your favorite, it doesn't matter. I'm not defined by that. So it became, I would always say, it was the law of aerodynamics at play. So whatever initial successes I had when I ventured into the real world, I would attribute to him and how difficult it was to be living in his family compound. And he would always train his sights on me. And I'm just happy that it didn't bother me, it didn't affect me in the worst way. But conversely, it inspired me to do better and to prove everyone, especially him, wrong. And when I did prove him wrong, I didn't even have to, I didn't like, talk about it. I just knew in my, if I achieved a certain feat, got an award or whatever, or got a promotion, I would not talk about it. I would just take it in and say, see, I knew that whatever that was that I experienced in childhood would not define me. In fact, it would move me, embolden me to be a better person. So when he died in 2007, I cried the most. And so I think if I was a favorite, if I had it easy, then I would have had everything else easy. If he was not tough on me, I would not have felt a compulsion to be the best that I could be. So that's how he inspired me. It's not a very direct, overt kind of inspiration that it's so touching. But on top of that, he lived a very good life. He was very successful. He didn't rest on his family's laurels, even if he stood to inherit an empire from his father. He made a name for himself. And he lived a full life. So, and he was very honorable. He lived with integrity. He paid his taxes. He would always say, and I would listen, even if there's part of me that was a bit pissed about it. That he would say that you would have to pay your debts, pay your obligations, applying your business loans, whatever, because that affects your reputation. And growing up, I would always listen to his stories about family history, and at the same time, his own story of success. And that stuck. So now, I made a commitment to myself that when I start working, when I leave the comforts of the university and chart the course of my life, that I would at the very least live with fiscal wisdom. So that's how Lolo Horror